Welcome to our October 2023 monthly market update. Today we are going to go over the numbers and kind of compare between September and October 2023. But one of the things you're going to notice is we are getting a pattern here once again. So generally we see a pickup in the market for September and October, and it bleeds into November slightly. But now where we're at currently, we haven't had a lot of movement on all of the inventory that hit the market in September. We have currently seen the exact same thing happen in October. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing an average of about 46 to 4,700 transactions per month, which is not bad. But we are also seeing an influx of inventory that's hit the market in the last little while. So although we're seeing a consistent number of transactions, we're not seeing that same percentage compared to the inventory that's hitting the market. So currently we have 19,000 units that are left unsold. And if we were looking back at the same time last year, we only had 11,000 units that had not sold. So what that does is it puts us in a position where we have this influx of inventory, and most people would say this is fantastic. This is a buyer's market. Yes, it is, if the buyers could actually qualify and buy any of the properties that are out there. So what we're going to talk about today is the Bank of Canada, what they maybe need to do to kind of propel us forward and put us in a position where it is easier for us to make some changes and get some of these properties. If you're looking to buy your first house, especially, that might make a huge difference for you if the Bank of Canada did possibly, let's say, remove the stress test. So stay tuned and let me know what you think of this video in the comment section down below. All right, so as we get started here, I'll go over just the averages for some of the areas that we generally do a lot of transactions in with our clients. So the first place that we are going to look at is the Halton region, which, as we know, is comprised of Burlington, Milton, Georgetown, Halton Hills, and that also includes your Oakville, your Burlington as well. So it has quite a few cities that are bundled in there for Halton Hills. So the average price out of Halton Hills is $1,261,000, still over that $1 million price point, which is not shocking. We have some of the most prestigious areas in Oakville, and they always have that high price range that is held pretty strong long term. So Halton Hills, 1261. Next, we're going to get into the Peel region. Peel is Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon. So they are still over $1 million at $1,063,000 as the average. City of Toronto was $1,103,000. Now, the City of Toronto is interesting because we know Toronto has some of the most expensive real estate in all of Ontario. However, it also has the most densely populated area of condos. So we're going to see this average price brought down because there are so many condos, and it just makes sense. If you've got, 100 sales of condos at $550,000, that's going to bring down your average for those detached homes. That still might be $1.5 to $2 million on average. Now, as we know, the averages only tell part of the story here. So let's go over the detached properties. So if we're in the Halton region, Burlington, $1,455,000 is your average detached. Halton Hills, so that's more of the rural area. So you are at $1,294,000. Milton, $1,334,000. So Milton's prices are holding strong out there. Oakville is still, the cream of the crop, $1,764,000. When we head into the Peel region, you're going to notice Caledon only has 42 transactions. So that does skew the data, but the average detached home in Caledon, $1.5 million. Brampton, your average detached home is still $1.146. And then if we are looking at Mississauga, it's at $1,500,000. So Mississauga is the area where there are the most transactions, and it almost, including all of those condo sales, does still have the higher average detached home price. Now, we're going to notice here, even though Mississauga has 3 to 4 times as many transactions, it still almost has the same average detached price as Caledon here. Caledon never has the higher amount of transactions because of the area and the amount of inventory that's available, but Mississauga is always going strong in the center of the GTA. Now, when we're talking Toronto, it is broken down into central, east, and west, but the average detached home across all three is $1.7 million. in Toronto, and that is for your average detached home. Now, before we get into townhouses and condos, I'll put up some of these stats on here as we're going through, but what I want to dive into is some solutions here. So obviously there are some people out there possibly watching this video, and what you're thinking is, how am I going to actually afford some of these average prices? There's always going to be a huge range. So there's going to be the low end where a lot of people are just trying to get into that market. And then the high end, obviously, some of these are the premium cream of the crop properties. And most people aren't going to be buying those. Let's be honest. There's a small portion of people who are able to afford some of the properties that are in the 2 million plus range, especially in the Toronto area where you're paying double land transfer tax as well. So you'll have to take quite a significant hit to purchase something in the Toronto area. You're going to start to see, I think, a lot more people moving less frequently unless we get some changes happening. So people who may have bought something in the last 3 or 4 years as a stepping stool, they may be hanging out on this step for a longer period of time. So generally somebody will buy their first property, being a condo, and want to move in 2 to 3 years, from my experience. Sometimes that stretches to 5, and sometimes they move in a year or two. But I think with the rates at the position they're at, and with the limited amount of principal that they're actually paying off of their mortgage, they're not going to have the same ability to go from a condo to a townhouse or a semi-detached potentially, because the price won't line up with where it needs to be. So some solutions that we're thinking about here are, can the Bank of Canada in any way reduce the stress test? Can we get the stress test either lowered maybe 1%? Can they get rid of it altogether? If they are able to, I think this would put us in a better position. They would then only have to qualify at the posted rate, which would allow people to afford a little bit more for their money. Second solution that I think is likely not so much in the near future, and in the near future, I mean in the next 6 months, I think maybe in the next 12, we get some glimpses of this solution, and that would be lowering of the rates. We're currently looking at qualifying at 8%, and we're looking at rates, fixed rates right now are above 6%. Variable is into the 7s, and it's just, with the current prices, become affordable, and it's with the current prices become very unaffordable for a lot of people. You're going to have to make $200,000 as a household to even afford $700,000 mortgage, if you're even able to. So this is putting a lot of people in the position where they look at their finances and they say, I just can't do anything with it. I'm not able to actually purchase anything. And then they're going to have to either continue living at home if they're younger and they have that option, or they're going to have to continue paying rent. And for some people, once you start paying that rent, it puts you in this never-ending cycle where you can't get out. You can't start to save up because you might be paying $3,000 a month. In turn, you've got $36,000 a year that's just being put on the rent, and you're not able to accumulate more down payment, so you're able to get into the market easier. These would be my solutions. We need to start to get these rates a little bit lower. I think comfortably, if they live in that 4 to 5% range, it would allow people to, especially if there's no stress test, it would allow them to get into the market again and move more comfortably without all of a sudden having these restrictions put on them where they can't even qualify for enough to buy a starter condo in a lot of the areas. And now that we've gone over the two options that I think will help us get the market moving in a more positive direction, let's look at the townhouses here. So in the Halton region, we've got Burlington. Your average townhouse is at $1,065,000. In the Halton Hills, your average is $798,000. Milton, your average townhouse is at $902,000, and then Oakville, it's $1,252,000 for your average townhouse in Oakville. Brampton, your average townhouse is at $849,000. Caledon, lower transactions, of course, $934,000. And then we've got Mississauga here, so still over $1 million, $1,015,000 for your average townhouse in Mississauga. I'm going to say it over and over again, these are not affordable prices for a lot of people. Keep that in mind when you are listening to this here. You're not the only one. And if you currently own something in the market, you are lucky. You're going to be able to build some equity on that property, assuming that you are not paying 70, 80, 90% interest on your monthly payments. You're just going to be paying your interest monthly, it's going to be taking you forever to actually get rid of that principal. And remember, your mortgages are generally front loaded with the interest as well. So your average condo in Burlington right now is at $625,000. Your average Halton Hills condo, there's not very many of them. There's only one transaction at $470,000. Your average Milton condo, $662,000. And then we had Oakville, once again, $811,000 for your average condo. Brampton, becoming affordable, 14 transactions at $519,000 is the average. 2 in Caledon, there's not a lot of condos out there, so $732,000 was your average price for a condo. Mississauga, 102 transactions, that is a lot of transactions. Your average at $626,000, so that's not bad considering that Mississauga had so many transactions. A lot are going to be on the 2-bedroom, 1+ den. There's going to be a huge range of what is actually available in Mississauga. And Toronto, 195 transactions, and Toronto had 883 transactions, so a lot. Your average at $729,000. Once again, always skewed by the huge range. So in Toronto right now, you can actually get into the market if you wanted to for just over $500,000. Now, the high end, you can really spend over $1 million on a condo if you wanted to in Toronto. So that's why we're seeing that average there at $729,000. Now, any of the other data you're looking for, I will put it linked in the description for you. This was just a simple market breakdown. And what I think we're going to see going forward is December will be a very slow month again. Historically, it is. People put their Christmas lights up. They get set up for Christmas. They are thinking about their credit card bills, thinking what are they going to look like in the next month in January when they get that big Christmas bill, and they're not thinking about moving. So if you're thinking about putting your property on the market, December generally is not the best time to do so because a lot of people are already mentally detached from the market. But we already have a lot of people who are mentally detached from the market because of the affordability. My encouragement would be Q1 2024 for us to really keep our eyes open and see what the market is offering us. See if we start to get some Bank of Canada changes to the qualifications. And if we do, that will be a good sign for you to put your place on the market. Or if we start to see some transactions leveling off with the amount of inventory that's hitting the market, we need to get rid of some of this additional inventory in order for you to have a better chance at selling your house. If you want to buy a place, currently there are a lot of sellers that will give you a good deal because they want to sell their place or they need to sell their place. So keep your eyes open. There's some really great deals to be had. There are some sellers who will not sell for just anything. And then there are some sellers who will sell for the bare minimum right now to get rid of a property. With all that kept in mind, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends. And if you want just a brief breakdown of a specific area, check out the other videos on my YouTube channel. We've got a Brampton video here and a Mississauga video here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.